All righty, guys. Well, again, we appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for making it happen this morning. Um, as I just said, we love to start out with wins and what good things are going on. Actually, while you guys are thinking about that, I got one that I wanted to share from a guy that I was just on a meeting with that I think is really cool. He has had a couple of guys leave the company and kind of start their own thing, which I know is pretty common, and you guys have maybe experienced that before. Had a customer that called him, and long and short, wanted to do the job. He wasn't available to do the job and said, well, hey, is there anybody like you that we could get to hire? Because he had just built that much rapport and relationship with them. And he said, well, no, not really. But, there are some people that did work for us in the past. And, you can get in touch with them. He said, not 5 minutes later, she called him back and said, that guy was a pile of junk. I don't want to work with him at all. Can you make it work? Is there anything that you can do? And anyways, we had a great conversation about it. And I think the moral of the story was, yeah, there's not somebody that does what you do. It's not just about does somebody do the same kind of work. It's about how you go about that work, how you present yourself. And he's kind of the way he put it, he's like, man, I'm in like this different realm of thinking about my business now. That it's not just can they do the same thing, but it's how they do it. That people are willing to pay and make it work for your schedule because of the company and how you conduct yourself and how you run your business. So I thought that was a huge, super cool win for him, that kind of mentality shift. And hopefully that can encourage some of you guys as well. But Jordan, you got your hand up. Tell
Yeah,
us the
that was
good
like a
news.
perfect segue right into what I was gonna say because
Wow.
with our new sales process, I'm winning more of the larger jobs, number one. And secondly, I sold one that was 50 grand just a couple weeks ago, and we've already started it. And when I met him on site, he said, man, he said, you were a decent percentage higher than the other people, but he goes, you were the only one that gave me the confidence that I was going to get what I wanted and I was going to be taken care of. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so I was pretty excited about that. It was hard not to jump out of my shoes when he said that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like things are starting to click, things are starting to work, and I'm loving it. Plus, with our new system, I'm missing less opportunity. I'm able to keep track of it better. I don't know. I got a few different wins. We lost one of our guys, but honestly, kind of like the last few weeks, I think it's probably a good thing.
Mm.
And we're looking at hiring some guys from TCAT here in Tennessee, the College of Applied Technology,
Okay.
and we're probably going to start doing a lot more hires from students that are in their first year there or finishing up their first year, as far as inexperienced people go. So yeah, got a few this morning.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Jordan. That's huge, man.
Yes.
That is huge.
We love doing that. We recommend it all the time where if you do have a technical school around you, putting up, we're hiring flyers, making a connection with one of the professors or one of the administrators over there and sending people your way. Sometimes finding somebody new who's coachable, who really wants to build a career is a better hire than the person who's been in it for 8 years. So really love that, Jordan. I think that's a great reminder. And then I'll say it, I've said it once, probably more than once, and I'll say it again. But without value, the only thing people care about is price. And so whenever you think that your
Yep.
sales process is a waste of time or too detailed,
Woo.
or if you're like, hey, I am getting beat out by these just trucks in a truck type of thing, it's like, are you communicating the value that you provide? Are you communicating what makes you different than everybody else? Because if you are not doing that, of course they're going to go with the cheaper person. But if you are, you're going to be like Jordan here, where you're one of the more pricier people in town, but they realize the value that they're getting. Your premium service, you're going to charge a premium price. So a lot to learn from those wins, Jordan. Thank you for sharing. Pete, brace across over here. I see your hand up.
So I got a couple wins this week. We got 10 new reviews. So
Yes.
it was a big win. Big win. My project manager has really accepted his new responsibilities and roles and becoming accountable for his tasks. This is all due to the implementations of the checks and balances and the templates that we put in place with Nicole. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And we implemented going over estimates in person, and it's really I've seen an impact on that as well. So it was huge.
Yes. Oh, Pete, thank you so much for sharing. I'm
Oh
so
yeah.
excited about that. I tell people all the time when I go over our 10-step sales process, I'm like, I know this is a lot. You don't need to implement all of it, but if you only implement one thing, it's given those estimates in person. That is a huge game changer. So very excited to hear about how it's going for you as you guys continue to do so. What other wins do we have today, guys? Either unmute, share, raise the hand. Wins, good things, things that you learned
Hey
this week.
everyone, this is Horacio with Big Leos. Good morning, everyone. This is our
Good
first
morning.
call. We
Morning.
just signed on with Redmond. We're excited. We just signed on. I think Lisa's in the call. She's our sales rep. She just sold a $15,000 job for a remodel, so that's pretty cool. Great start
Woo!
so far.
Yes. It's
Everyone
a
would
great
love
way
to
to
start
start
the
the
morning
day.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we're barely, we're barely starting, right? I have a painting company. We got into the remodeling because people started asking about it just goes naturally hand in hand, right? So we're getting there. We're starting everything from scratch, but finally I think we got a good team. I think Lisa's great. So that's all I got on our end over here.
Ah,
Hey,
well,
thanks
thank
for
you so
sharing
much
it.
for sharing. Yes.
My other win, even with Travis gone, I'm still getting stuff done.
Hey.
We got one as well right here with Elevation Plumbing.
Come on,
Tell
tell us,
us.
Anthony.
So last year, this is before we signed up with Redmond Growth and started using what you guys, Travis, have been teaching us. From last September to this September, we 10 times our sales last month. So I think that's huge. That's really huge for us.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
pretty huge for anybody.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. What would you say have been some of the main factors that made the difference there?
Well, a huge one is the fact that we finally learned how to start tracking what we're doing, where we're spending our money, how many calls we're getting, where we're, getting calls and whatnot. And so we've been able to like really narrow down what works and what's not working for us. And I think that's been a huge game changer as well as kind of figuring out our money. So before this, we were kind of like just two monkeys running a plumbing business, and we had no idea what we were doing. And we were able to get it kind of zoned in. And really also our marketing team, Alyssa, is amazing and has helped us out a lot with that as well.
Ah,
Wow, Anthony. That's awesome. We love to hear that. And I I'm personally I think really glad that you can tell, it's something that we fight the battle. Nicole knows this. We fight the battle so often about knowing your numbers and getting people to track. It's probably the thing that we push the most and get the least of our clients to really follow through with is tracking and knowing your numbers. So man, the fact that you can now identify, that's been the main thing that one of the main things that's really helped to know where to put your money, where not to, what's working, what's not. Man, that is the best thing to me. That's awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's awesome. And by doing that, we also learned how much we can charge. And so we actually
Mm.
and even upped our pricing by like 30% and still had that result. So it was pretty cool.
Wow. I
I'm
just
just
I don't want to
thrilled.
move on. Yeah, I don't want to just let that slide too. That's what we tell people, but it's hard to convince them too. You said you just moved your pricing 30% up and you didn't lose folks.
Yeah.
30% price increase. Wow.
Yeah. And I still think we're like at we got to go more. We're like at a 96%
Yeah.
like close rate. And so we're gonna keep going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it make you kind of think sometimes like, oh wow, how long have we been undercharging? You know, like how much money have we lost out on?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm so proud of you, Anthony. These are phenomenal wins, and for anybody
Wow.
here who I mean, Bryce can even tell you guys, I can sometimes have an allergic reaction to spreadsheets. In fact, at least once a week, Bryce gets an email from me saying, "Hey, can you fix this spreadsheet or can you do this for me?" And so I know that tracking can be intimidating. I know that spreadsheets can be intimidating, but as a business owner, if you are not willing to figure out your numbers, if you're not willing to track them, there's what's the freaking point? You know, you have to have that scoreboard. You have to know your margins. You have to know your closing ratio. Otherwise, you are flying blind and we're operating by feelings compared to fact. And feelings can often be deceiving. And so, Anthony, I'm just so proud of you and love seeing all of the wins that have come from making those simple little changes and being willing to dig into it. Because, like I said, it's tough. It's not easy. Jason,
Definitely. Yeah.
Jason, I see your hand up.
Yeah. So I had a long road trip this weekend, which Nicole and I talked about on Tuesday, but had an 8-hour road trip. I have been having a struggle reading Profit First, falling asleep at night or whatever it is. But I finally bought the audio version of it and listened to it on my whole 8-hour trip. And it was actually really good listening material. I mean, I stayed focused on it as I was driving down the road. I have a schedule for tomorrow to go into my local bank here and get the bank account set up and kind of moving more down that Profit First road. And I felt that was, after listening to the audio, I think I listened through 8 chapters of it. And after listening to that, it just got me revved up a little bit more about everything else that's going on. So to me, that was a big win, getting through all that stuff, because I'm not the best at reading, sitting down and reading something, but to listen to it in my travel time was a good idea. So if you guys are out traveling, I would purchase that audio and listen to it, because to me it was very good listening to it. I mean, I was able to stay focused and it was a good book to listen to. So
Yes. Well,
Better to implement.
yes, I love that, Jason. The book is Profit First. The author is Mike McCallowicks. For those asking, Bryce, if you want to slide
Yep.
a link to the Amazon on there.
Right
And
now.
Amazon does have the audio book that you can purchase, or ordering the real one. As you guys go through it, just know that all of the coaches here are Profit First professionals. We've been through the course to be certified, so you don't need to find you a Profit First professional. You've already got one. And when it tells you to stop and perform a rollout plan, all you need to do that is to send your coach a profit and loss statement, a 12-month profit and loss statement, and we'll do the rollout plan for you. So don't let that stop you from continuing to read the book. And Jason, I love your feedback. Most of the time, it's not like we're going to often tell you guys to read books. You're not back in high school having to do book reports, I promise. But this is one that if you can read the first 8 chapters, it's really foundational. It's not a painful business book, I promise. And that's coming from somebody who only reads fiction in their spare time. So I promise you will get through it. It is bearable and you will enjoy it. Michael, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Jason said. I also started the Profit First on audiobook, and I do all my books on Audible. So I have a lot of time with Audible, and he narrates it really well. Like it's captivating, even though it's accounting, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's really good. I'm about 4 chapters in. I highly recommend it. It sounds daunting when he's going through like the spreadsheets
Yeah.
while listening to it, and you can't visualize it. But I think it'll all make sense once put pen to paper, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to make a lot of notes. So there's like chapter 4 that explains a lot of that stuff that I just have to go back with my book and kind of go through it again. So if you take a few notes of what he's saying, it as you're driving, which I know isn't safe, but in Wyoming there's not a whole lot of traffic on interstate. So, but yeah, I would just be able to just jot some notes down, because there is a lot of good information in there.
That's a good point. I got to get the downloadable material as well. I think that'll be helpful. But yeah, it's good. I recommend it so far.
Yes. Yes. And talk to your coach. We have the spreadsheets. We can do the rollout plan. Like, we will really hold your guys' hand through the process. I know it can be a little
Yep.
bit intimidating when they start talking about opening this account and having bank accounts at different banks and how to do distributions. And like, just don't get so stuck in the weeds in it that it cause like paralysis a little bit where you're just like, oh my God. Your coach is going to be able to really simplify it. And there's some things that we do and don't do to even make it even simpler, just to get the ball rolling. So read through the book. It's good stuff. And any questions that you have, just ask your coach. That's what we're here for.
Yep.
I'm excited to get both those going with you guys, Jason and Michael. Prop First, it's a game changer.
Nice. Wow. I mean, a lot of great stuff covered already. We can stick on wins or transition to questions. Jordan, you got a win or what you got?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're still in wins. Never mind. Well,
No,
okay.
go for it.
One more. So my main service tech, who we're getting ready to move to a performance-based pay, he knows that's coming. He was struggling to sell anything much over 1,500, and like the last 2 weeks, I gotta look at the numbers again, but I'm pretty sure he's closing at least 80% of those right now. Maybe more this week. So he's starting to get really confident with that. And that's all due to just weekly sales training and, just spending the time with them and giving them the tools that they need, along with fixing some of the sales process stuff. We have Profit Rhino now in our price book. So giving them all the tools and spending the time makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. That's encouragement as well. If you're not tracking your team's numbers, if you're not giving them a goal to hit, they're not going to hit it. They're not going to know where they're at. And so tracking your numbers with your team, making them aware of what the goals are, what they can do better, and then building training around it. That's how Jordan's able to take this employee that, is a good employee, but wasn't able to produce what he needed to produce. And now look, he's starting to produce it. And it's because we're tracking and training, and those tend to go hand in hand. It's hard to do one without the other.
Yep. It looks like Aaron had a question there of saying, hey, how long did it take you to train your guy? How long did it take to train them?
I would say, because he was able to do really small stuff, like he was selling maybe 300 to 500 consistently, but anything that jumped much over that, he wasn't. I think it took almost 2 months of just regular meeting and going through stuff. And that's just an hour a week, on Wednesday mornings for us. So, 8 hours worth of training technically, spread out, but that gave him time to like process kind of one thing at a time. And we built in steps a little bit so that I'm not just throwing everything at him all at once. And then the other thing that we did, was like, I would just call him after calls sometimes, like when I knew he was driving or whatever, and say, hey, how do you feel that call went? What do you think? What do you think we could have done differently? And not browbeat him. Just, hey, this is just about what can we do better? How can I help you? And get him because that got him thinking through it. And so, now that he's closing $2,000 stuff, it's like, what makes a difference? And it's the confidence factor. He's just more confident in selling that stuff now. So somewhere in like around the 2,000 to 6,000 range, he's doing a million times better.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think it's really valuable and important, the difference between, okay, can I do this if I just dedicate 4 hours or 8 hours straight up to train somebody, versus that consistency that builds confidence, gives them time to train and master something before moving to the next. It's more that ongoing process that we see makes the biggest difference. And yeah, that confidence factor as well, that comes kind of only with time, but mostly with consistency.
That's going to fix one other problem, because schedule is going to start to open up a little bit more as he's selling more, because he's going to have less free time to run all the other calls, because instead of blowing through calls, we're actually closing calls and performing and selling work. So that I'm looking forward to seeing open up the schedule a little bit more to bring another technician on and start focusing on training the next one.
Yes. Love that. Okay, well, guys, really appreciate everybody sharing the wins today. There's so much learning that can happen from wins, and just like I say every week, you don't know who else needs to hear it. Needs to hear the wins. You know, somebody who could be struggling with training their tech, or having a tech who can't produce, and now they have some tools to know, what do I need to do to help solve that? So just really appreciate you guys coming to the table with wins for this meeting. But let's jump into the Q&A here. What questions do we have? Why did you come on this call today? What are you wanting to learn? Or maybe it's, this is what I'm struggling with today, or needing a little bit of advice on, you know, or anything like that. Would love for you guys to just kind of unmute, raise the hand, fire away. Jordan.
Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I came
okay.
prepared with this one. I've been wanting to look at getting into a little bit more like facilities maintenance for electrical. And I just had one of our commercial customers that we do maintenance on their building ask if we have any maintenance contracts or biannual, you know, systems checks, just to make sure that everything in the building is good. So I'm curious if you guys have any experience with that. And it may be a question more for working through with Travis, doing some research, but wanted to look into that to be able to offer those to gain more contracts with commercial and facilities maintenance.
That's a great question. I want to kind of turn it to the clients here before Bryce and I kind of jump on it. Is anybody currently doing some type of maintenance agreement or home safety inspection, or anybody on this call? Is that something that you're currently doing or have as a program? Michael, tell us about it.
So we install landscape lighting systems. We design it, install it, and then we maintain it. 30% of our revenue is maintenance contracts. It keeps you in front of the client, and it keeps the workers working. So it's not for, it doesn't sound like it's hitting exactly what you're talking about, but it is a maintenance contract, ongoing, you know, annual, semi-annual. Yeah, that's what we do.
Love that, Michael. Robert, I saw you mute. I don't know if you're on the call or not, but I don't want to let you.
Jordan, what is your question, real quick? Is it just, hey, how do I get into commercial facilities maintenance agreements?
No, it's more about help with getting those set up and maybe learning more what the industry standards are, so we kind of have a good starting point. Because for me, the Dream 100, I think, would probably be the way to get into more of those, but I want to be able to have something to offer first. So,
and so you're wondering, hey, what if I'm wanting to get a commercial facilities maintenance agreement? What do I need to tell someone I can do for them? Like, what are we giving them?
Yeah. Because I'm not sure what's typical. I know that, for example, the simple version is when they need something, we can have an NTE, which I still got to look into what that stands for. But most facilities maintenance managing companies have like a maximum amount you can do without approval. So let's say they have an issue and they call you, hey, we need this fixed. If we go out, it's 400 or less. We can take care of it, send them the bill, they'll pay us. But I'm more interested in getting contracts directly with the facilities instead of doing it through a management company, but also be able to offer packages like biannual checks for the buildings just to check the systems, light switch plugs, and, be able to give them a report. And so I have no idea so the things I think through is like, okay.
Yeah, so
maybe-
I'm going to default to Laura here. She's been raising her hand a couple of times. I know that she does a lot of work on the commercial construction side.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, the commercial electrical side. And so, what's up, cowgirl?
Good morning. Hey, Jordan, something to consider, and I don't know how to tell you to write it legally, as far as a contractual agreement with your customer, but something that we've been doing quite a bit of recently are infrared studies on like the load center, the switchboard, the gears. So if you have
That's good.
technicians that, are trained to work on hot equipment, it can be a very profitable, careful the words I use, because it is dangerous, but if they're trained properly, it's not a big deal. So that's something, particularly depending on what demographic you're in. If you have a lot of the commercial, like up where we're at in Vallejo, north of us, is the wine country, and there's a lot of shipping and receiving for the wine industry. So they have these huge, gigantic warehouses that have, all the big switch gears and everything. And part of their insurance requirements of those buildings is that they have load studies and infrared studies done on the electrical infrastructure. And then in addition, what we do for those guys is, lighting maintenance. But as far as like, maintenance for switches and plugs, they seem to have that in-house for the small stuff like that. But definitely for lighting and load studies on the electrical infrastructure.
That's good information. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, and so Jordan, I think it's less about hearing from another person, what do you do that I can do too? And it's more about a framework of thinking that can lead you to the answer. And so, I thought Laura gave a great recommendation. But, there's like a part of that where it sounded like, it's a little bit dangerous. It sounded like maybe there needs to be like some sort of prior experience or training in these systems involved. And so, and maybe you have that, maybe you know how to navigate that. I'm not sure. The main thing I think I'm trying to say is that the first thing that I'd go through a series of asking yourself certain questions. So the first thing is, hey, what industry has just a need? What sort of businesses have a need for ongoing electrical service and maintenance regularly, right? So let's first narrow it down so that the whole world isn't our oyster. Then the second thing is that, hey, what are we really good at already? What are we already successful at? What are we already good at that we know that we can impress people with, that we know we can do better than our competitors? Then maybe you can highlight some more of those services. And then what I would do is answer those two questions and build a Dream 100 from there. I think, though, it's really less about, hey, what is someone else doing that I can do, and more about where do your strengths already lie? And if it's difficult to answer, on the commercial side, well, how could we do the same sort of thing on the residential side? Are there different organizations that we could reach out because we already have a lot of strengths on this side of the business, and they have a real need? And so that's really what I think is the important thing, is identifying, hey, let's find out who has a need for what we do, is really all we're trying to do here.
It's a simple answer for me. It's just maintenance, repairs, and inspections, for commercial and residential both.
Yeah. And so who would have a need for that? Like, what if you were to think of some type of businesses?
Literally
Like what-
any business that has a brick and mortar building, because they all have lights, they all have plugs, they all have needs that change. Sometimes they add an extra desk in an office and they don't have a plug there, or, they need data cables ran or whatever. So that's the stuff we specialize in. But it seems like we're getting more and more of these contracts where, they just want to use us regularly when they need a repair. And so I'm getting more of those questions. And I had one that kept saying, well, can we get a quote? And I'm like, well, they're a commercial customer. And I'm like, well, we have a 65. And finally, I just suggested, I said, hey, a lot of our commercial accounts have kind of like a pre-approved amount. If it meets that or under, we can just come make the repair and take care of it. Is that something that we could get pre-approved? And they actually emailed me back and said, actually, yeah, that's great. So they approved that. That way we're not just going out for nothing on these anymore.
So what business was that?
They do medical instrument repair and resale. So I don't know what specific, I don't really care to that, but I mean, they have, a lot of what we've done for them is lighting, and we've done some lighting retrofits for them to upgrade their old lighting system. And I think the call that just came in this week was another one due to some lighting in one of their break rooms or something.
Is it a large facility?
Yeah, it's pretty good size. And I know they're just one portion of it. They're a whole complex. And I know the facilities manager, they're in-house, so they take care of all their facilities maintenance and contacting those people. He even told me, and this is separate from the one that called me specifically, they just leased that one space, but he told me if we had a lift, they would probably send us more stuff, like a scissor lift.
Okay, like we've really moved very quickly from any brick and mortar business to where we're at now, right? And so here's what I'm trying to get at when we're talking about like industry and what you already are skilled in is you already have one of these customers, right? And there's some qualifiers to this customer that makes it unique from just any brick and mortar business that has lights, right? Because that isn't like, that's not like a helpful narrowing down of things. And so what I may recommend doing is going after more medical like facilities. These could be any facilities in like the greater Nashville area that have multiple locations, right? Maybe they're in medical devices, maybe it's just medical in general. And now you have a really strong message to send to them, which is, hey, we are already the service electrician and maintenance electrician for this other medical equipment company in town. Here's what we do for them. We're offering maintenance agreements at a really low cost right now, and wanted to see if you had any electrical needs. Like that's just how you do a Dream 100, right? And then maybe you start by just going after different medical facilities with multiple locations or large facilities. And then maybe you go after, for example, like local franchises, right? Like, hey, what multi-location, sort of multi-business franchises are in my area that would have a need because of all the locations for electrician, right? So I would take what you've already done successfully and turn it into something. And
I agree with
there.
that.
Yeah. So everything you're doing for that medical company, like all the stuff that you've done, what am I offering someone in a service agreement? Put all the stuff that you've done or have talked about doing for them. That's your service agreement. Right. I'm going to move here to Jay Russ.
Jordan. They started yesterday. Good to see you, Jordan.
What's
If
up?
you'll unmute so we can hear you. There should be a little
There we go.
microphone button.
Got it.
There you
Okay.
are.
Yeah, I need to get that name changed on there. But nice to meet you guys. Heard a lot of great things today. My question is, has anybody gone through the process of rebranding? So my company's name was Electricians Near Me, or is Electricians Near Me, with the sole purpose of being Google searchable. Turns out that kind of backfired on me. And turns out near me is not actually a very searchable term on Google. So has anybody gone through that process of a DBA or changing something? And also, Jordan, the other Jordan, want to touch base. One of the things that we always check whenever we're on a service call is emergency life safety stuff. So like exit signs, the battery backup on exit signs, emergency lights, and fire dampers. Those things are out all the time, and they're the easiest upsell on a customer for at least in Omaha, Nebraska.
That's great. Thank you. And we do that too. So that's right in line with what Robert was saying.
Jordan, are you based in Omaha?
Nashville,
Yeah.
Tennessee, baby.
Sorry, 2 Jordans.
Yeah.
I also
Yes.
yesterday realized
Jordan Berry, I absolutely know where Jordan Berry is based in. You're based in Omaha?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
But their Google, so kind of little context. Their current Google business listing is not in Omaha, and it's right outside of it, and it does rank in the town that it is in. And so once they have their new office building in Omaha, we're creating a new Google business listing that will be in Omaha and a physical location. And so Jordan's getting ready to go through the process of getting a DBA for what we want to name that new Google business listing that is in Omaha.
Are you in Council Bluffs?
No, Council Bluffs is in Iowa, so that's just right across the other side of the Missouri River. But yeah, I mean it's within a stone's throw from where I'm at, but it's different licensing, different jurisdiction, all that stuff.
Okay, when Nicole said you were outside of Omaha,
He's in Bennington.
Yeah, the town's called Bennington. It's just a suburb of Omaha.
Alrighty. Who had their hand raised? Jason, I think, had his hand raised. I've got a lot of feedback I can give you, Jordan, but is Jason Taylor still on?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Okay, what's up, buddy?
So I just have a question. What Nicole said, like, if this is something I've been thinking about, because I'm already down in Laramie about once a week, and I've got some properties down there that I manage. And I was thinking about expanding my property rehab business down there because it's a college town. They have all sorts of repairs. What would it take if I was to just get a salesman down there as far as like on the Google business? Would we have to, Nicole, like completely redo the Google business page?
It's a great question. So your Google business listing is, it lives in the maps section of Google. And so it is only going to really show up well, or really at all, in the town that it is physically located in, even if you do not have a physical address on that listing. When you go to set up that listing, there is an address that you connect to it, and that's going to be the town that's going to primarily rank in, which is the situation that Jordan's in right now. He does a lot of his work in Omaha, but his listings in Bennington, and that's where it ranks. It's where it shows up. And so if we want to have a listing that shows up in Omaha, what that does require is having an address that we can connect that listing to. Now, for anybody who's thinking like, hey, my listing already ranks in the town that I am in, I'm in a good position now to create second Google business listing to start getting reviews on it, because your reviews will not transfer over. They are separate, two separate listings. And so we only want to start with one listing at a time so that we're not, dividing our efforts. But it will require having a address in that town that you are wanting to create that listing in. We do like to have a physical address if we can, like a warehouse or a shared office space or something that we can make the address visible on Google. If that's not an option, you can do a residential address, like a friend, family member, somebody like that. The address is just more than likely going to need to be hidden, but that will still give you a listing in that town, so it's still worth doing. It's just we see that listings that do have a physical location do tend to rank a little bit better, but having getting anything up is better than nothing. And so if anybody's in those positions, I would talk to your coach just so we can walk you through like all of your specific options, and if it's a good move right now, because like I said, unless your current listing is ranking, it's probably not the best move right now, but we'll help you through all that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Okay,
Jason?
so Jordan, I'm going to go back to your question. And if someone wants to chime in, I've done a lot of rebranding with a lot of different companies. And it's this thing that can sometimes seem like this big deal, and it's really pretty straightforward, and it's really not taking on too much. First off, I don't think you had such a bad idea with electricians near me approach for an SEO purpose, especially for your Google business listing and your Google local services listing. Now, the one thing I would recommend that doesn't sound like happened is to do like some keyword research to find what people are searching in your area. Furthermore, electricians near me is if that's your only thing, if that's your only like business name, then it's like a global keyword, right? It's really hard to rank on compared to something related to more Omaha, right? Like a Omaha electricians or best electricians in Omaha. And so what we can do with you is we have different tools that we use to measure the keyword like search volume. And we can help you maybe come up with a DBA that still really has that principle that you wanted with SEO value, but it's actually something that you could rank for and has a higher volume locally in search. The first thing is, hey, let's create a name. Let's just get a DBA. We can help you with that. The second thing is it really essentially is just wherever you are branded. So like, do you have wrap vehicles or anything?
Well, yeah, so that was my next thing. So after we had the call yesterday with Nicole, like things started going with I've got vehicles with wraps on them, like insurances, bank accounts. I didn't know how all that stuff was affected by a DBA or
you don't have to change any of that. You literally don't have to change any of that. In fact, I wouldn't even worry too much about your wrap vehicles. Eventually, if you were like branding under a new name, a new brand, you would want to change vehicles. But I'm just telling you that if you had a customer call and they needed, residential service of any kind, and if you sent a vehicle to their house, if they're expecting an electrician and you set an appointment with them, and then you see a vehicle, and let's say your name is like Omaha Best Electricians, right? Like your new branded name, and you send a vehicle that's wrapped electricians near me, I guarantee you they're not going to think twice about it because they're expecting an electrician, right? And so they might say something or, oh, I thought your name was this and that, but it's like not a big deal. Like you can just say, oh yeah, we were this name. Now we're this name. We've recently rebranded. And so the main thing is just literally filing a DBA, working with your coach to find a new business name. And then on your digital assets, that's your Google business profile, your Google local services profile, your website, making sure that those digital assets are updated with a new name. And then what I even sometimes do with people is like even on their Google business listing, we've done this in the past. I don't know if Google would let you do this anymore because they're a little bit more strict, but we have put like the new business name and then in parentheses, we put formerly electricians near me, right? And so again, I really appreciate what Jordan, you said here. Jordan said, and he's an electrician down in Nashville. What Robert said about it not being a big deal is 100% true for me. It was actually pretty easy because we just use the DBA to rebrand, and you don't have to set up an entirely different business. That's a great thing about DBA, is literally how you're registered with the state. Your bank accounts, everything. You don't have to change any of that. You can still operate underneath that. All you're wanting to do is to register DBA so that you can brand and market under that new name.
The other thing I would add to it, Jordan, is it's a simple email as well to any past customers, if that's a concern you have as well, just to say, hey, this is where we were, or what we were, this is where we are now once you make that choice.
Yeah. And I mean, so one of the things that me and Nicole had talked about yesterday, so right now in the town I'm in, I'm ranking 3rd, was it?
You're showing up in 3 and most reviews. So even though you're not like the top 1, you're still in the top 3 of the 3-pack, and you're like the clear choice. You have 80 something reviews, and your nearest competition has like 20. And you have
right, but in Omaha, like I'm unfindable basically. Right. So what we had talked about was potentially leaving my current company, Electricians Near Me, as a listing in Bennington and making a complete new listing in Omaha. And that sounds like that's probably probably the best option, but probably a lot more work.
Well, could you move the address of your current, because that is a lot more work.
Yeah, currently I'm operating out of my home, and I'm in the process right now of buying a building. So the building is in Omaha. My home is in Bennington, which is why the listing is at my address, my home.
So what I would do is I would just once you move into your office address, I would just update your address with your current listing and change your business name rather than opening up a new Google business listing.
Even if he's currently ranking in the town that he's in, like he's number 1 in the 3-pack in the town that he's.
Like what does that give you, being number 1 in the 3-pack in Bennington, Nebraska? Like how many calls a month are you getting from that?
That's my problem, is I'm on track. I mean, I'm not tracking stuff, I'm just getting started in this, and that's one of the problems I have, is
and we can,
my analytics are not accessible for me.
That's okay. That's okay. And we can help you find that out. My guess would be that the long-term value of moving your Bennington listing to Omaha would be greater than keeping it, just because I am just skeptical with how high the search volume is for electricians in Bennington compared to Omaha. And so regardless, making the right move is going to require it's not going to take us a lot of time, but we're going to want to make sure to do research on these things. And we're not going to make any dumb decisions because they're going to be like more data informed decisions. So, whatever, if you're getting good call volume in Bennington, then we probably wouldn't want to mess with that. But if it's really not consistent or making much of a difference, that would be my recommendation, because creating a new listing to compete with Omaha it takes years. Have you heard of an electrician in Omaha called CK Electric?
Yes. Yeah,
so
they kill it. They've been number 1 for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so they've been our client for a long time. That's Chad Kudlicek. We are still working with him just on some local SEO. He's not like a active coaching client, but he was like you when he started with us. Like he didn't have, I don't even know if he had a Google business listing when he started with us. That was quite a while ago.
And Jordan came to us with as a referral from Riley, Summit Home Solutions, whose Google business listing is less than a year old and now ranks in the 3-pack in Omaha for bathroom remodels. And it doesn't always happen that way, but it can. And Jordan, once you give our SEO team, myself, access to your Google business listing, we'll actually be able to see call volume has been through that listing in the past couple months and be able to make a really educated decision on, is this listing valuable where it's at in Bennington? And if it is, that kind of answers the question of, okay, let's start a brand new listing in Omaha. Yes, we're starting from scratch, but you do have a customer list that we can run a Google review campaign with and beef up those reviews quickly. If you're not getting a ton of call volume through it, which we will be able to see, then we can say, okay, let's just change the address over. We won't show up in Bennington anymore, but that's okay. It gives us a chance to show up in Omaha. But either way, we'll get you showing in Omaha.
Right on. I appreciate the input, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it needs to be said or not, but it's something I was thinking about in some of the conversation. Just to clarify too, the name change on your business listing does not mean you lose that listing or its credibility. It is something that you can just change the name and if anything, gain credibility. Unless it was suspended, which happens from time to time, in which case we just get it unsuspended and you're back up. So
Yep. That is why we like to
Yeah.
have the DBA, is so that if your
Yes.
listing does get suspended, we can work with Google to get that listing back up and running. And a lot of times the DBA is what they ask for. They just want to verify that you can operate under that name, which is why we like to have that before changing the name on a listing. Same thing with the address as well.
Yeah, so I'm just searching here, electricians near me. Is it Bennington? Am I spelling this right?
Yep. Yes, you are.
If you type in electricians Bennington NE, that's when I was able to get the map and Google Local Services to pull up. Yep, and you'll see my results look different than yours, Robert.
Yeah, and I can throw on we can throw on like a VPN and search from like different places, to see what it is. But yeah, I don't know how populated of an area Bennington is. I mean, you've got 82 solid reviews. That's a great start. And then Jordan, the other thing that will help is by moving to a new building in Omaha. Not only is Omaha a more densely populated area, but you'll have your address public, which makes a big difference. If you look at the top 3 rankings, most of the time, the 3 companies in a map pack for really any search have a public address. That's not always, but most of the time that's the case. So that will help you too. So yeah, man, we'll be able to help you quite a bit. It sounds like you know a good amount about Google Business Profile and ranking and stuff, but I'm excited to help you, excited to work with you.
Thank you.
Jordan, you
All
didn't
right.
need to be rude about KU like that in the chat over here. Okay. You didn't need to go there.
You're welcome.
Honestly, yeah, I honestly love seeing Nebraska do well too. I don't know why. I just they're a cool team to me.
another red jersey team.
Yes. Okay, any more questions? We good for today?
Awesome. Well, guys, we really appreciate the participation in both the wins and the questions here. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, do not hesitate to reach out to your coach, book a laser call. I know we got into the weeds a little bit with DBAs and multiple listings and addresses and suspensions and stuff. So if you have any confusion, talk to your coach. And before you change anything on your listing, please talk to your coach. And before you create a new one, please talk to your coach so we can help you through that. I promise it's a lot easier that way than trying to unravel stuff after. So let me know. Yes, we do record these calls. They get posted on YouTube. I believe we send them out on Mondays in an email as well. And so if you're
they're in the course. Yeah, Horatio, if you remember the course that we went over on onboarding on Friday, if you just click the recorded or group call recordings, you can go down to October 2024 and they're on there. Yeah, and you I think your team has logins. I think we created logins, at least for I think Lisa is her name. So
awesome. Okay, guys. Well, if I could get everybody to unmute, we're going to close out this call with a big 3, 2, 1 growth. I know, Jordan, this is your first one. You're going to every single time. This is how we close out this call. And so I'm seeing unmutes here. We're going to do 3, 2, 1, growth.
Growth.
Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.